So we've been hearing about some of the impacts that Bangladesh is suffering from climate change. Could you just cover a few of those for our viewers?
Bangladesh is located at the bottom of three major river systems. It's at the eastern Himalayan region. And we suffer the floods, and also when the water is short from January to May, then upstream absorption leaves very little for us. So Bangladesh is in a critical environmental position in respect of water. And climate change impact falls on or through the water sector most of the time. Maybe 60-70% of the time it's through the water sector. And that is one of the biggest challenges of Bangladesh, how to manage our water. And coastal areas with sea level rise, the coastal area we have storm surges and salinity ingress, and it's now coming 100 kilometers inside. And the other problem related to this is the riverbank erosion, and that's happening even more. It was there before, but now that with climate change we have concentrated rainfall in certain periods, and the floods becomes much more forceful, and therefore the riverbank erosion is happening even more, which leads to displacement of people, both from the coastal areas due to storm surges or salinity ingress, and also from the riverbanks because of riverbank erosion. So that's creating a major havoc, not only from the economic point of view, but also from social point of view. Because these people are moving mostly into Dhaka and other cities where the services are limited and they cannot be provided with the services. So they have to live a very undignified, I would say, humanly undignified lives in the shanty places without water sometimes, no electricity, and even they can work as daily workers, daily laborers, but no regular jobs in most of the cases. Some people may find, but usually they don't, or they pull these rickshaws and so on, and with very limited income. And therefore, they live in very unsanitary situation with very little income and very little opportunities of getting out of that trap. And that's related to climate change now, and it will increase in future. So we are concerned about the displacement of people as a result of natural disasters caused by climate change. And this was recognized in Cancun agreement, but that was very limited recognition. So this time we hope to pursue it further in Durban, and even here in this forum, this issue has been mentioned by almost all the countries, that this is an important issue in all countries. The other important thing is poverty here, where we have to develop, we have to increase our economic growth so that poverty can be alleviated, and at the same time employment generation is critical. But you make some progress, but then there is a cyclone or a flood and everything is taken away, washed away. So both have to be addressed simultaneously, and that's the policy of the government, to address both economic issues and at the same time climate change impacts. But it's very difficult. It's very difficult both in terms of making the planning, also in terms of resources and in terms of capacities. So the other thing that we need most importantly here in Bangladesh is financial support, technological support, capacity building support. So these are the issues that I hope we will be able to pursue in Durban and beyond, and we have been pursuing in the past. It has to be a comprehensive approach so that economic progress is not washed away, and then there is no economic progress. We make some progress on the climatic front, but the people remain at the bottom and they don't make any progress below human dignity, large number of people. So that neither is acceptable. So we have to move in an integrated fashion, and that's something we are doing in Bangladesh.
What kind of steps is Bangladesh already taking to adapt to the impacts of climate change and also to mitigate its own emissions?
Mostly on adaptation, actually. On adaptation, we have undertaken several activities, afforestation in the coastal areas and building resilience of the people, community approaches to flood management so that people are prepared to face floods when the floods come. and also rehabilitation afterwards. So these are the areas where we have projects going. And there are other areas also, capacity building we are trying, but that will take a little longer. Capacity building at the grassroots level, I mean, that's important. Because if you are facing, because it's at the local level that the problems arise. The local level, it has to be resolved there, and local people are the real actors. So their capacity has to be improved. So we have some projects, but that's very limited. So on the mitigation, there are some projects. We have decided as a policy of the government that we'll follow low carbon path. That's a policy decision. But we need support for that, because as a least developed country, Bangladesh is exempt from reducing greenhouse gas, if we may even increase. But we have decided ourselves that we will contribute to the process of arresting climate change, whatever little way we can. But we need support for that, both financial and technological. But we also have to be mindful that our economic growth is not affected adversely, and at the same time, our poverty reduction the rate of poverty reduction is not affected.
And what's your sense of the international response to climate change in the UN process? Bangladesh is not a big player when it comes to international politics. Is your voice being heard, and are rich countries responding appropriately?
Now, in the process of negotiations, no country alone can make, developing country can make a lot. There has to be groups. So we work within the framework of G77 in China, and also the LDCs, and then other groupings. And on some things on which all of us agree, we make sort of united voice or support each other. And that's the right way to go, I think. And here in this climate vulnerable countries meeting, we are trying to forge a strategy where we can work together in the negotiations, because a country like Bangladesh, as you say rightly, that cannot make much impact alone, but a collective voice of a number of countries might make some difference.
What do you think is the strategy that's emerging for some of the most impacted countries by climate change? What will be your strategy in Durban and beyond, do you think?
Several things have come out already, and tomorrow I hope, by the end of the conference, I hope there will be more. We are focusing on, one of the things, displacement is one of the major issues. The other is the climate change is a global issue, but at the same time it's a local issue. And associated with is the justice issue. And this is one thing we have agreed, and therefore funding and the technology transfer has to be faster. One of the specific things is the 30 billion Fast Start Fund, which was committed in Copenhagen and then reiterated in Cancun, and later on specific commitments may have been made by the countries. But the disbursement has been only about 2.5 billion, and all of it was supposed to be disbursed by 2012. So this is something we'll be making a noise as much as we possibly can, that this should be as quickly possible should be disbursed. Otherwise, commitment means nothing. And then the Green Climate Fund, which also has been created in a way, but it is not operational. So that has to be operational. And there, the point is that the fund will have about 100 billion, approaching 100 billion by 2020. But nothing is said what will happen from 2012 to 2020. So this is another demand of us, that it has to be increased every year by a certain proportion leading up to 100 billion 2020.
And the progress has been very slow at the UN climate talks, and it's causing some people to be disillusioned and to suggest that another venue would be more appropriate to talk about these issues. Why, or what would your response be to that?
Another process is difficult to establish even. So this is a process ongoing. We should try within this framework, I guess, and try to make it as effective as possible. But the problem is, you see, we are not short of making agreements. We agree. We agree, for example, that developed countries are responsible. We agree that the countries like Bangladesh are very vulnerable. And then we agree that these countries have to be assisted. But then how to assist, when to assist, that does not happen. So far it hasn't. And the promises are not kept. So any other forum, I don't think will be more equipped to do this. This process, I think, can lead to, if we start providing statesmanship by the leaders of the world, rather than just being leaders of their countries. So I think they have to rise above the leadership of their countries and to become statesmen for the global community, because there is only one Earth and we have to save it.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. It's really interesting. Thank you.